right, y'all. We are live. Let's get these comments on here. Looks like I saw some comments up there. Alright. Good deal. Alright. If you would, please share this, you guys, on your page here. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Conversations Under the Hood. We thank you so much for joining us again this evening on this fine Sunday. We just want to take a moment to apologize for last week. We had some crazy, chaotic things going on, which allowed us to just set up and do a better job this evening. So we hope we didn't inconvenience anyone, but please, we hope that we didn't create any problems. But tonight, we're looking forward to having a excellent show. Last week, we were slotted to finish up October National Bullying Prevention Month with a how-to for families and individuals who might have an interest in hosting bullying prevention forums. And so we had talked about that for the past couple of weeks. We talked about literacy and we talked about bullying prevention. And so tonight, even though it is now November 3rd, we will go ahead and wrap that up, because I think that's an important piece to really kind of follow through with. This way, again, we were talking about how many people, have podcasts and things that talk about stuff, but a lot of times they don't talk about the how-to side of things. And so I wanted to make sure, especially since we were having such good conversations about bullying prevention, to make sure that we did have a chance to talk about how people could go forward and proactively do something. So on that note, I just, I don't know if you all remember kind of where we left off, but I can flip back here. And I mean, is there anything that just comes off the top of your mind in terms of the how-to? Because I have a list of things here that I had slotted out. And basically I was going to kind of just go through like a step-by-step of how you might go about, doing what we did with Written by Kids. And so you could literally replicate that and, have the ability to hopefully have the same kinds of success that we were having, having great conversation. One of the elements that I really liked about what we were doing was we were also able to feed people. And that was nice because, a lot of people, especially right now, that might be, an issue. So, so I wanted to, make sure that we did that. So the first thing that I had was to kind of really, what do I have here? It's not very well organized. How to organize community. All right. So so the first thing would be the how to organize a bullying prevention forum, right? And I think before you get to that point, like there's a few things that you want to cover first, like really having maybe an understanding of what your goal is by hosting these forums, and thinking about ways that you could, I would say, productively get there, because there's activities or readings or, different types of things that you could do that might help you do that. So just real quick, is there any ideas that that either of you might have for someone who, let's say they had a child in elementary school, and that either is being bullied or had been bullied at some point in the past, and now they're maybe past that situation, but they still have compassion towards other families who might be experiencing the same thing and want to do something. Is there any ideas that you might have on what they might be able to do?
Well, one of the things that I like what we did last time was to define bullying, right? Because once you understand what bullying is, you are able to facilitate it, or whatever the case may be, whether it's about a child who's bullying or whether you are being bullied yourself or you witness others being bullied, sometimes in the family, in schools, at workplace, or what have you.
Right.
Knowing what bullying is, which is the reason why we defined it, in simplistic terms that we used last time.
Right.
So knowing what that is, and then when you want to facilitate that, you've got to think about the outcome You know, what outcomes do you want when you engage, whether it's in the community, whether you're meeting with the school administrations or what have you. So, and after defining what it is that you would like to achieve, then you start, looking at the logistics, basically. How do I achieve, how do I advertise? How do I invite people in the space? And what do I expect from the people that will be participating on this? Whether it's them sharing their own stories, which can, allow other people to be open and, allow that room for empathy as well for a lot of people who can relate, whether they are the bully or the bullying,
Right. When you said logistics, it made me think, like, coming to the logistics part of it, like trying to create a forum for bullying prevention. One of the things that I would think would be a good thing to do is talk to the kids to get your data to find out the feedback on how they deal with bullying and what they go through to kind of get a outline of, to help you better shape that and what you're trying to do as far as like create a forum for bullying prevention or whatever.
Right.
I think that'd be a big part of it. It's just questioning the kids and getting all the info you can from the kids and the kids that's been bullied and from the bullies.
Right.
Just to see, people that have changed and grown out of that, what made them change and what made them, decide to quit being a bully or, grow up and, just things like that. I think that would be important. So conversations with the kids and like that to help build a structure for that. So
Sure. Okay. All right. So the first thing I have here, and again, my organization, I have to be honest, is probably not in the most sophisticated way because I was writing all over the place. When I brainstorm, I start in one place and be somewhere else.
Ideas flow.
Yeah. But so the first thing I had down was to how to organize, right? And basically what I mean by that is, we utilize public libraries, and there are other places that you could definitely connect with for bullying prevention. What I found, or should I say what we found, as we were looking for places and talking to people about bullying prevention, many of the people that we talked to had either children, that had some kind of experience with bullying, or the parents themselves had some experience. And so people were so willing to do things. We had a pizza franchise here in the Atlanta area that used to literally provide pizzas for every forum, man. And it would, I don't remember if drinks were included, but they used to give us stacks of pizzas, man, all the time, fresh, ready to go pizzas. They would deliver them right to wherever we were. And so it was really, it was really nice to realize that the pursuit of pulling off a community, event like this that was really targeted towards trying to improve, that aspect of bullying prevention.
Bringing awareness.
Yeah. That so many businesses and organizations were quick to jump in and want to support. So in terms of organizing, I would look at public libraries, I would look at community centers, and then, other places like hotels, places that have open spaces that generally cater towards small events, or even medium-sized events, or even potentially large events, because hey, how are you? Please, no problem. Step over if you will, please. Yeah, he's here, ladies and gentlemen. My man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, no booing back there, people. No booing. Yeah. So, hey, if we could share this, if you would, please, y'all share it on y'all pages, because I'm trying to make sure that we get this one out here. I was just looking.
already done.
You have, my man. That's what I'm talking about. Let me just see here right quick. Y'all feel free to jump in while I'm trying to do this too, because I'm really trying to multitask here while we get going.
Yeah. And we were just talking about this company that used to donate pizza, but one of the reasons why this subject they thought was so important and it resonated with them is that they too were aware of the victim of bullying, within
the business,
their own families, and their business too, and they wanted to see if they can do better,
Right.
So they appreciated the fact that we're bringing awareness, regarding this problematic issue, because bullying is not just in school and only with kids. The bullies that, are bullying others as kids, and there was no intervention. So what they do, they grow up to be somebody's boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's co-worker, or somebody's administrator, or what have you, and they carry that, problematic behavior with them, even sometimes as adults.
Right.
So the importance of keep bringing awareness of this issue, it's multifaceted, right? It's not just in school with kids and what have you. But when we're doing it, we realize that a lot of people in the community, like I said, including businesses and school administrators, even in the politics side of things, wanted to come and support it.
Right. Absolutely. So thank you for that, because I was just trying to get this all figured out here. I don't know why my technology is always so difficult in the first couple minutes, but no, you're absolutely right. Working with these organizations, like I said, in terms of organizing, I thought it was going to be much more difficult to get the support, because my experience is people who've been bullied initially before I got involved with the forums like we did, was that they didn't really want to talk about it because people kind of embarrassed and don't want to be seen like a punk, if you will, or a victim or what have you.
Right.
So it was really surprising to see the willingness of the organizations to support what we were doing. And so, like I said, just a quick recap on that. Jojo, what we're talking about right now is bullying prevention, the how-to, basically establish a bullying prevention event that, could hopefully be something that's proactive in the community to help push that initiative forward.
Yeah.
And why this was supposed to be last week's show, because October was the end of bullying prevention, National Bullying Prevention Month. Mm-hmm. But since we didn't have the show, we're bringing that into this show. So right now, what we were talking about is the how to organize, and the first part we were talking about is like places that you could go to that would facilitate or could facilitate having a forum. And my own personal thing with the public library, I thought was fantastic, because as I said last week, one of the things that we used to do is they would allow us to put we would do just a regular flyer, right? That's just a paper-sized flyer. And they would allow us to put that up outside the door. And with that, we would get many people who were just coming to the library for one reason or another, would open up the door, take a peek in, and then either decide to come in or not. But then, like I told y'all, with the food, when people start finding out about the free pizza, and it wasn't just like Little Caesars, it was, I forget the company now, but
Marcos, but Little Caesars is good too.
No, Little Caesars is great, but I'm just saying,
piece of incentive. Huh?
Yeah,
right.
It was exactly. I mean, hey, Little Caesars would have been awesome to have, but
you guys give them a
yeah.
free plug-in.
Yeah. Well, hey.
But it created an atmosphere where people were eating, and it was very casual.
Right.
Which made the atmosphere more relaxed. Right. And people were able to share ideas or stories in a very relaxed, environment.
Yeah, and and that food, especially what I found was like young people, those were the ones who seemed to be kind of hesitant to come in. And then when they did come in, they were kind of hesitant to talk, right? But then when the food got involved, and it just seemed to loosen people up, people started talking more.
Somehow it does.
Yeah.
And so it don't matter from what culture, where you come from. Food does bring people together for sure.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Absolutely. And I think it helps people become comfortable enough to dialogue, and so that I thought was great. So I was just saying the public library, because you get a lot of movement through public libraries. I'm not, community centers. I'm trying to think. I had one experience with a community center, and that one, it wasn't as productive. So, you know what I mean? I would think public libraries, a lot of...
Yeah, you would think that community centers would be perfect for it.
You would think so.
Yeah.
You would think so. And like I said, I only had one actually out of the time that we had done that. I think we only had one community center actually approach us about doing a forum. So that's as far as location. And then what I was thinking is like, all right, so if you can find a place to conduct a forum, the next thing is to really practice your craft, right? Like you really need to decide what it is that you want to present, right? How you want to present it, practice that, and you know, really try to figure out ways that it will put you in a position where you can communicate with as many people as possible. You know,
right? You know your material,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
Right, and have tangible. You know, like we had the bullying prevention guide that you have there, Rob. This guide, this was our tangible tool, right?
Yeah.
As you were looking through it, you were saying, "Oh man, this is a good point to ask. This is a good point to ask." And so that's what this bullying prevention guide was really about, was establishing a dialogue, and which was perfect for a forum, right? Because the forum was meant to establish a dialogue. So, so as we were, you know, talking with people, it gave us great points to talk from. It helped us actually come up with a couple of activities even. So I personally suggest, and you can speak on what your thoughts are, but I suggest that if you're going to organize an event that is a forum, that it would be really a good idea to have activities as a part of that. Because, you know, like we had the, you know, what your face looks like, you know, remember that activity where you put the, see if you're clean shaved or not. And then we also did like these small group kind of things. It was like role playing, that's what it was, where we would pair adults and children together and allow them to, you know, act out a certain kind of situation.
Activities, games.
Yeah. And it seemed like people really liked that, you know, and what was also cool about that is it started building relationships between different people who may not ever, you know, ever cross paths. So that part I thought was really good. So again, practicing how you're going to present, how you respond to certain, you know, cues, because, you know, you have to be mindful when you are presenting. Like I said, you're going to have people of all different ages, all different genders, and all different emotional, what would you say, strengths, if you will.
Yeah.
Some people, when they get to talking about it, man, it goes into an emotional thing really quick. And so that's something you have to be prepared for. So I definitely would encourage, if you have access to either public services that, you know, have, you know, counselors or, you know, people like that might participate just as a backup to the event that somebody does come in and have, you know, some real serious emotional situations out of that, because we know sometimes the ramifications are our worst, you know, fears.
So that's a good point, right? Because, you know, this is it can be a very emotional issue. So having some emotional intelligence is going to be really important. You know, being aware of your own emotions and others, you know, being able to see where, you know, this topic is taking people to. If it's getting emotional, you have to be able to facilitate in a way that's healthy, that's also supportive to everybody engaging in the conversation. Because it can range from a bullied victim reminiscing what happened to them, crying, you know, and then you have to create an atmosphere where at least they can be heard and validated, you know, instead of feeling gaslighted, right, and you know, supported. And you can also have on the other side where the bully basically is in denial and think that the people that view themselves as victims, they're just weak or soft or punk, those kind of gaslighting terms. You know, so when that happens, you know, you have to be ready to be able to facilitate that. But I will take it a little bit, you know, a step back. First and foremost, you know, you have to figure out why you want to do this, you know, and is your first place to want to facilitate anti-bullying in a public space, or do you want to just start it at home with your family and your children? You know, recognize behaviors within the family, you know, structure. If you have bullies and, you know, those quiet and what have you. And then when you want to, so taking it to the public, you can also check to see if there are activities, you know, anti-bullying events around your area. We find out that we were not the only one. There were so many other organizations doing this, if you will. And then that's where we realize that, as highly complex emotionally this issue was, you will think that we will combine forces, work together for the benefit of the public,
right?
The people that are suffering from this situation. Mm-hmm. But we quickly realized that most of these organizations were also competing for resources,
mm-hmm.
funding.
Right.
And that's the avenue that we didn't, explore, because to us it was personal. We're very passionate about
mm-hmm.
it,
mm-hmm.
and we were just trying to bring awareness and also help,
right.
As much as we can. But it took us, literally thinking about what is bullying.
Right. And so many different types of them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
they morph.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They all morph.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because we live in a society that actually, if you notice, it does reward that kind of behavior. Even
mm-hmm.
with TV shows, children's TV show, the characters that usually are highlighted are the characters that like the mean girls, right? Mm-hmm. Or the boys who are kicking that little kid's butt and making him run or dumping him in a garbage and all of that. We see these shows over and over and over again.
Yeah, the bad guy, good guy, though.
Right.
Or the meek and the strong. Yeah. There's always going to be that. That's been since the beginning of time, is that war of making peace.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You got the bad guy, the good guy, the weak and the strong.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a battle for who knows how long, but forever, like that.
Yeah. But it's even in our language, right? If somebody was to address another person, whether they made a mistake or whether it's bringing awareness to their behavior, there's a certain way. If you have this posture, that assume authority, and the way you talk to that person, then you get a lot of attention. Like, oh yeah, she handled that like a boss.
Or you get tested.
Right. She handled that like a boss, instead of like, wow, where was kindness and compassion? For the other human being at the receiving end.
Right.
So, we still kind of reward that kind of boisterous posture, if you will. And it can be bullying in its own.
Yeah, there's, like I said, so many different types of bullies. Like, I mean, they could do it not only physically, they could do it mentally also. So there's so many different ones. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're not aware of it,
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because we do live in a society that literally supports.
And they put a blind eye to it too. Yeah. They could put not just that you're not aware of it, you put a blind eye to it too.
Right. Yeah, they do that a lot, man. They do that a lot, depending on where you are.
Yeah, I mean, even if. Sometimes even as parents, I can't tell you how many times, because I used to teach when I was working on my undergrad, and sometimes even just listening to the parents and the teachers like, hey, if it was me when I was young, I used to beat up a lot of kids, I used to do this, I used to do that, and then we're talking about it as if it's something.
So that made them, I mean, so you were the bully then.
Right, but then they
But you didn't realize you were the bully.
Yeah, but and while you talk about it, with such pride,
praise
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was never anybody who said, "Hey, that's not okay." The person at the receiving end is a human being that does not deserve, to be treated as such. But
because there's a physical and a mental one too. So you could bully somebody even mentally by verbally, the way you speak to them. You could be bullying them mentally, in a way, in a slick way. You know what I mean? And that doesn't always have to be physical.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the physical is the worst way, but I mean, I wouldn't say the worst way. It's both just as bad.
Yeah.
They're both just as bad as I have, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, and it does shape the society. And I'll say this one thing. Like, for instance, things are changing, but some of us come from the era where boys were not supposed to cry, right?
Yeah,
so
I come from that.
Or men even, right?
I come from
so
that
you
era.
are hurt, you definitely, whether it's physically, sometimes emotionally, even the words that are being used. Hey, stop being a little punk, don't cry, boys don't cry, what kind of this is that?
Right.
All that name
Take
calling,
it like a man.
Yeah, take it like a man.
Yeah, that's how it was. My experience was like that. Like, it's like, when I would fight, is like, and I was a kid, like, I would box, and it was like, and I would cry, like, if I lost, I would cry, and it'd be like, why are you crying? It's like, I'm not crying because I lost.
Upset.
Yeah. It's different because for me, if I had to look behind me, and my stepdad, and he was like, you lost. That is the way he did, how he treated me.
Right.
Because I was losing.
Right.
And that scars you.
Yeah. The words we use.
Yeah.
When the kids don't perform well in school, especially in sports.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that is because
that scars you.
Yeah. Instead of teaching, this human being, boy, girls, or whatever, how to process those emotions because they are natural. How to process those emotions and let them flow, and then encourage and support them so they come out stronger at the other end. You shame them, and then that's what creates toxic people. People that are just really abusive, whether verbally or physically or even emotionally, or and it's another form of bullying, Jojo, you were alluding to, is that sometimes even in close circles, when people just ignore you, withholding,
that's another one.
Withholding, compassion or emotions, from you, whether it's, in relationships or with children, you mad at that little kid because they did something, they didn't listen, and then the child wanted a hug, and you withholding that from them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another way of bullying.
That's an emotional,
Definitely. Wow. Yeah, well, okay, so let me jump back to where I was. And that, on the how-to, right? Because, everything y'all saying, all of that is important. I didn't want to intervene in that, but I just want to make sure that I get all of those points in so that when we recap, we can just talk about what those key things are that need to be done. And then all of these are like supporting kind of, explanations or what have you. But anyway, the next thing after you have practiced your craft and you found a location, right, is to put the word out, right? And so, do you all have ideas on the best ways to put the word out to the community about, like, if you were going to host a forum, what ways, Jojo, what ways would you suggest?
Now that it's better now that we're able, we got like these type of platforms, with the internet and all. Like it really helps to kind of push that out there. Like you could always posting things like that. That you could do even a regular get together of some type of meetings for that would probably help, because everybody's got a piece of a puzzle, I think. In my opinion, everybody's got a piece of a puzzle. You might have something or some type of connection that I don't have that could help me get further.
Right.
Like everybody has a piece of a puzzle. You just gotta find like
where you fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I want a podcast.
There you go. Here's another way to bring it awareness.
We already started a podcast.
Yeah.
Even in schools, have your flyers, together. Reach out to your schools. See if people are interested there, the students and the teachers, administrators, to see if they are interested. Social media is another
Social media is a big one.
Yeah, should have passed out some little bullying prevention cards for trick or treat for Halloween.
There you go.
Stuff in the bag.
There you go. We got something real sweet for you.
And while being conscious of your materials, to ensure that you're not bullying people to become anti-bullying.
I guess that would be some type of bullying if you just slipped the bag in there.
Are you a bully?
Take that.
I don't do that.
Take that.
That's funny.
That's what I was thinking. Have you seen in whether it's schools or these areas where there's anti-bullying message, but it's so strong that it's so negative? you know.
Yeah, it's forceful.
Yeah, it's so forceful. No room for bullies, you know, which it can lead to, you know, somebody's identifying you as a bully. It's like, hey, you're a bully.
Yeah,
There's no room for you here. Get out.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's, like I said, it's complex, but then it has to come from a very place of care, empathy.
Right.
Right, because then when you deliver the message, you want to make sure that you're not leaving, you know, others out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
feeling some kind of way. But
Absolutely. No. And so I wrote down a few ones here, and I think we hit social media, right? And you mentioned the schools, right? And one of the things about the schools that I think is really effective that we should mention is that if you have any youth, like especially like when we first got started, there was another family that was kind of working with us too, and they had children, right? And so basically their children was in public school, our kids would be in homeschool. So what they would do is take some flyers to school, or at least share with the other students that, hey, you know, especially the crowds of people that they had, you know, that these forums were taking place. And you know, so every once in a while you would have a friend bring somebody, you know, to it, which was awesome, man. It was really good because regardless if they were just there for the pizza or what have you, it wound up working out, especially with the activities, because everybody participated in the activities. So especially when you made the activities kind of like, I don't want to say fun, but they were interactive, you know what I mean? And so you really couldn't sit it out, you know what I mean? So that part was cool. And then also the newspaper and radio, again, talking about bullying prevention, there are several organizations that, like I said, whether it's the owners, whether it's the managers, whether it's the workers, that probably have some experience with some form of bullying, right?
Yeah, because it's so wide. Like it's not only like between children, it's even adults that are experiencing like that. You could experience that at work, experience that at school, you experience that
in the neighborhood, in the family.
So it's wide, like it's broad. It's like
absolutely
so many different ones.
Yeah,
absolutely
in ways.
Absolutely.
And like the newspaper, like they have one of those community gazettes and things like that. They're like the really small newspapers. A lot of those you can get into for very low cost, or if you are a nonprofit, in some cases, you can get in there for nothing. And so that in radio, like I said, especially during this month of October, people have a lot of compassion towards bullying prevention. So it shouldn't be hard to really get the word out there, you know, if you're taking advantage of those. But something else that we thought that we found out was good was by connecting with a lot of your government officials. So you know, depending on where you are, you could, you know, be dealing with your local politicians or your state politicians, right? And in some cases,
a lot of them, they want to be involved in that.
In some way or another, absolutely, absolutely. So, and I think that's how we got tied up into the political side of bullying prevention there for a little bit. Was, you know, part of, you know, some of them having a initiative to want to do something.
They have big resources too.
Yeah. Exactly. Which again, that's why I said it's a good one to tap into. Okay, so the last thing that I had was really to connect with local businesses. You know, we talked about Marco's Pizza, right? And how they were helping to sponsor by providing the food and I believe beverage too for our forums. And that was great because the pizza was excellent, and it facilitated a perfect opportunity for us to eat and to talk. And so what we would do is we would host the forum, and then the pizza would come like about halfway through the forum, so that way, you know, people were just coming to eat. They was gonna have to sit there for a minute at least for the food to get there. But then
a lot of local businesses,
and so many of them, listen, something that I learned is so many of them have stuff to get rid of. Because like I said, the family that we were working with, that was one of their specialties, was to really connect with businesses, and that's how we really got connected with even with Marco's. But they were getting donations from bagel shops and like all of these places that have, you know, merchandise that they have to get rid of either at the end of the day or through some certain amount of time. And so it was perfect for us to be kind of a place where people could come, they could get some conversation, they could get some food, and ultimately access to community resources is really amazing. So
to connect and also, you know, hear that
networking is a big thing.
Absolutely.
And in that space, you know, another thing that we realized that people just came there to be heard. Also realize that they're not the only one. You know, knowing that, oh my God, I thought I was the only one who's feeling this way, who's still holding on to these feelings. You know what I'm saying? And some people, well, to their 60s and 70s, all of a sudden, we get the feedback, you know, those people say, hey, I feel validated. You know, for the first time I feel heard.
Somebody
you
just
know,
listened.
saying somebody just listened, and I get to share what happened to me. So,
especially when you walk in there and you see all different faces, all different ages. Like I think there's some kind of freedom I think that comes along with people. So you might know somebody, you might not, but just knowing that, man, when you walk in, wait a minute, it ain't all people who look like me, or all people that are in their 60s, or you know, that kind of thing. In other words, it can happen to anybody. So I'm really just, you know, thankful for that experience, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to even share it, because, you know, it might sound complicated, but it's not, right? It's really not. If you're passionate about it, if you are in a community where, you know, you see a lot of bullying and something needs to be done, you know, starting up a public forum, you know, at maybe a public library or some community location that, you know, is easily accessible. It's the perfect thing to do that you can find some joy and happiness in it. And I kind of equate it to back when I was in high school, you know, certain things like gym day, right? Maybe not high school. Let me go back a little further, because high school gym was every day. But you remember back in elementary school where gym was like on Tuesday or something every week. And so that'd be like the only time school for me, that school was fun. So I'd only be looking forward to Tuesday. So every day other than Tuesday, I'm like building up anticipation for that. And that's kind of how the bullying prevention forums came for us. I can't remember what days now. I think it was Friday or something like that we used to host it.
To rush from work to make it on time.
And so they were something that was, you know, easily accessible and highly successful. And so that's why I wanted to share that. I don't want to spend the whole show tonight on that, but I just will recap it real quick again. So if you have an interest in bullying prevention and you want to see something or you want to do something in your community, how you can do that is find some bullying prevention information, whether you create it or whether you reach out for resources like what you have there, the bullying prevention guide that my family and I put out a few years ago, or there's many other bullying prevention resources out there. But find you a resource that is easy for you to share, is highly accessible, and, you know, learn how to present that in the easiest, the funnest way possible, because you do want to, you know, hopefully have light moments when in some of those serious conversations, right? And so once you've got that information and you've perfected that, then get your location. Find you a convenient place, a place that supports the idea of bullying prevention in your community, that is willing to open up their resources, because believe you me, some of the libraries was like, man, we'll let you use this. We can, you know, like all of you can use our kitchen. You can use these dishes. There's this. You know, they were just like giving and giving and giving. The more that they saw the growth of these, and so build those relationships with those local entities, and then from there get the word out. And you can do that by using your social networks, by talking to people in your churches or on your job or in the schools. Don't forget to talk to the politicians, because many politicians support bullying prevention initiatives, and many of them have stories that were found too, you know, whether it's their kids or themselves.
Many are bullies.
Well, I'm not gonna go there, but last but not least,
They don't know their bullies. That's why they don't support it.
right, find and connect with people in your community that also are involved in bullying prevention initiatives that might be able to help gain more access to people of need or other resources that can help you on your way to having a more successful bullying prevention forum. So really, it's just those 4 steps, right? And just doing that over and over and over again will just help you become better and better and better at it. Okay? So wow, that took us in 40 minutes, y'all, to get through that. That's amazing. So
I don't think there's very much stuff out there for for bullying prevention.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has experienced some type of bullying.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing I want to add to that, Rob, is that it doesn't have to be in all those areas that we mentioned. It can also be in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
I remember when I grew up in a village, sometimes there will be mothers, with boys that were bigger, for single mothers who could really control their boys, especially as they become teenagers and, all of that. And sometimes it will be a respected, father, in a village who comes, who is being called to come and discipline those boys.
Right.
So it could be, areas like that too, like in our neighborhood. Let's look at for the children that
so many different ones.
Right, and innovate.
Absolutely. So I found the nuggets from our last show, and I just want to remind y'all again, our goal is to leave some nuggets. So while we're talking this evening, let's make sure that we don't forget to put a stamp on something that we really feel strongly about sharing. But our nuggets from the last show was to be an active bystander. I believe that was Rob's his nugget, and JoJo's, if I'm not mistaken, was have a voice, use it, or was that reversed? Yeah, have a voice, use it. And Lindy, I believe yours was evaluate. I think yours and Rob's kind of was together in a way with the evaluating situation, every situation. And then I'm going to have to say the 4th one is empathy, which I can't believe that would be me saying that, because that's not a word that has been big in my repertoire. But anyway, those are the 4 nuggets that from last week, the previous week, that we had. So tonight, we discussed bullying prevention. So is there any nugget that any of you have that you would like to share in regards to bullying prevention before we go on to our next subject?
I would say with that, you don't have to have the answer, right? You just have to speak from a place of truth and empathy.
Okay.
So as you engage in other events in the community, or whether you want to start preventing bullying, knowing what it is, bullying, and then you want to prevent it, you can even start at home, with your own family circle. Because sometimes we let things slide simply because people are in our family. We can help prevent bullying from our family, but again, you don't have to have the most advanced vocabulary or impression things to say about bullying. Really, you just have to speak from a place of truthfulness, in a place of empathy, and and also just realizing that you really do want to help, and how much you want to invest.
Right.
I would say research, because knowledge is power. The more you research, the more you obtain knowledge about the subject of bullying, from both sides, both point of views. So I would say do your research to obtain your knowledge, to fuel your passion, to keep going.
Yeah, that will even help you recognize bullying in its different forms.
Right.
Do research. That's a good one.
What was yours again? I'm sorry.
You were not listening?
I was kind of.
See, this is bullying.
I know.
Another form of bullying is not listening when people are talking.
I was multitasking. My apologies. I was responding to Dr. Dr. Brummer was saying good evening to everyone, so I'm just trying to interact a little bit with her. So I apologize.
Yeah, we'll go to George. We'll come back to my
Here to show some
Kind
support.
of
JoJo!
like piggybacking off of his. Do some research and find those resources. There are resources out there. We just, finding them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Research.
Yep.
Well, so all right, so if we're researching, right?
Tomato.
Yeah, and you don't have to wait until you think you have all the information. You just have to care. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And,
I agree.
A
So
little compassion. Compass eye on.
there you go. My little nugget,
Compass.
right, is going to be what I pretty much stand on, and that's to do something, right?
yeah.
We talked about that even in our last show or two ago. When it comes to bullying prevention, right? We just saying like, we have bystanders, people who are active and say, oh no, you stop that, don't do that. And then we have the other bystanders who turn a blind eye, I think you say.
And then you have those people who say, oh, I get a chance to bully. Then they jump in.
Join
They start
in,
bullying.
yep, you got that as well. So I think the key is to do something, and that's why I wanted to close out the National Bullying Prevention Month with that, how to do something, how to be active, because it's easy for us to sit home and complain about, the treatment of our children, let's just say, or somebody else's child, or what have you. But the first step is to do something, right? Whether it's to start a conversation with the administration, or what I'm suggesting is start a conversation within the community, because that's going to be way more productive as we have more dialogues, more conversations about what bullying is, how to prevent bullying, and so forth. So
start a conversation under the hood.
My man, I like that.
Right. Or standing up for others. Even while you are getting your materials together, you researching to start, to participate in some sort of event or start one. You can also start like, hey, I don't have to wait till I have all of that in place. I can stand up for others when I detect bullying.
Right.
Whether it's in the family, whether it's at work, whether it's, in school. Just basically eradicating this herd mentality.
Right.
Right? Because most of us, we don't even think about it. We just go for it. Instead of like literally stop the bully in their track, regardless of whatever form of bullying was, and recognize when we're being manipulated, right? In order to stand with the bully, because some of these bullies can be extremely manipulation, and you might not see it coming.
Absolutely.
But when you come from a place of empathy, thinking like, hey, what if this was done to me, or what if this was said about me? How would I feel? And why will I not stop it, entertain it instead?
Right.
Because
That cyberbullying is becoming big too. Like, see a lot of these people on the internet bullying the other ones, typing crazy stuff,
Man, and you know what's crazy about, all right, so I wanted to talk about conversations under the, because because that, it kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about, which is how we came up with the Conversations Under the Hood concept, right? And part of that is the hood, right? Conversations that, we have great conversations, and me being involved. Yeah, we talk under the hood. So that's how Conversations Under the Hood kind of, exactly. It kind of manifested, through us, the many different ways that we could wear it. But the good thing was we was always having a great conversation.
Yeah, just make sure the conversation don't escape
Escape through the back. Oh, hey, that's right. You ain't lying about that. Put my flap down. Yeah. But yeah, so kind of jumping back to what we were saying as far as bullying prevention, cyber bullying in particular, right? This Conversations Under the Hood was also kind of like I would say 50% of it even, man. 50% was the hood, but the other 50% was the good. Trying to create an environment or trying to facilitate an environment where there was positivity, man, because every time, I like to indulge in my, social networks, from time to time, TikTok, YouTube, etc. But what I kept finding was so difficult, man, was really to find places that were positive. Now, I understand that algorithms work based upon how you search and all that too. So the things that you get presented with generally are some way, somehow associated with what they perceive to be your interest. And they got mine totally skewed because I'm looking for positivity. I'm looking for things that make me feel happy, that make me feel loved, that make me want to encourage that same behavior with other people. And unfortunately, every time I'm online, I'm either looking at something that's trying to sell me something. So I would call these like high-tech commercials now. Your drawstring is on top of your head.
It's all networking.
Yeah.
They're trying to network.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's trying to make money.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's trying to make money off of a view, a like, a share, or something like that, you know. And so, needless to say, for me, I got turned off. You know, now I don't even really want to watch TikTok because everybody's selling something. I'm like, I mean, hey, I would promise you, for me, probably out of 10 videos, at least, if I'm being generous, I'm going to say somewhere between 3 and 6 of those videos are selling a product. You know what I mean? And I'm like, it takes away the joy of just the experience of seeing new and different things when you know that everything that's being presented to you is just like a dang commercial on TV. They're just really trying to get you to buy something.
So hook you in.
Yeah, so that kind of turns me off about a lot of the different networks. So that's, again, why this Conversations Under the Hood is why I wanted to really get into this podcast, was to try and, you know, have conversations that were meaningful, you know, conversations that would allow us to share what we call nuggets, right, that hopefully people could utilize in some way or another. And so now that we have had a chance to, this is our 8th show, you know, and it's been that many, and I would say it's been great. You know, we've had people, actually you weren't here for that show, but we had actually two shows you missed, where we had people call in, you know, and we had Manswell T. Peterson. What's that?
Called in. That phrase, that catchphrase.
Yeah.
Called in, JoJo.
Yeah. So, and you know, he's a great author, and that was a great opportunity to talk to him and him share strategies on how other people could get involved with that. And then we also got another call from a gentleman. Yes, sir.
No.
That, you know, basically said, hey man, you know, I've been watching the show and I got 3 things, and then we started getting into what those 3 things were, but it was just before the show, so I couldn't get everything that he wanted to say. But the good thing was he was saying that, you know, he's watched the show and what we presented is good stuff. You know, they like the casualness of our conversations, and the funny, the humor, you know. Matter of fact, a few people said, hey man, y'all so serious, you need to laugh more. And I'm like, still, I know these people probably only watch, you know, probably a minute or 2 of, you know, what we got going on, because
it doesn't feel like homework.
Yeah.
Too serious.
Yeah.
Like in school, you know.
Yeah. And I definitely, you know, right. I'm trying not to do that because, you know, we want to deliver, you know, meaningful content, but we want to deliver it in a way that is fun and engaging.
Yeah,
so
it's helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, on that note, so the way I'm going to go ahead and wrap this show up, we got about 7 minutes almost, a little more than 7 minutes. So we talked about bullying prevention. Is there anything that anybody want to say about that before we close up the chapter on bullying prevention? Anything?
I mean, it's just finding, to me, it's like, because like I said, there's so many different ways of bullying.
15 seconds.
So it's
Bully.
see right there. See, he bullied me.
Yeah, right.
You gotta point it out.
All right.
I'm sorry.
We can
Bam.
15 more seconds.
Thank you.
Problem solved. All right, good. So point it out. I'm loving that. Okay.
You know?
Anybody else?
Yeah, I said be kind to yourself. Don't bully yourself.
Don't bully
You know what I'm
yourself.
saying? You know,
Yeah,
where
you could do that.
yeah, absolutely. How many times you being so hard on yourself, like I should have said this, I should have done this, I should have stood up for myself. And so show grace to yourself, be patient with yourself, and don't bully yourself.
Great.
Yeah.
Any last words?
I'm gonna rip some more, huh?
Okay. All right, good. So let's end it on this then. So since we talked about a little bit about Conversations Under the Hood and how we kind of came up with Conversations Under the Hood. So let's talk about, we done 8. This will make our 8th show. And so far, let's end it on, let's just share a little bit about what our experience has been from Conversations Under the Hood. And I don't want to guide that conversation, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So you share, whoever want to go first. So far with the 8 episodes that we've done so far, how do you feel about Conversations Under the Hood?
It's brought a light. To me, it's just bringing light to what bullying is. You know, because a lot of people don't know if they're getting bullied. They don't even know if they're getting bullied sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They do, but they don't, because some people are slick about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that we're actually bringing the light into those people. You know, let them know that what's right. You know, what's right.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the light to the bullying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, what he's saying is, I hate to say this, but it makes you realize sometimes that you are a bully.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
It has brought light to me. You know, it's made me realize, you know, hey, that's bullying. I have done that. I have to go home and sit and think about it sometimes, or I might be on a phone call or something like that, even on a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And I might say something a certain way to end that phone call.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not realizing that the person gonna have emotional effects from
a
what
lot
I
of
said.
people
You know what I mean? So that's a form of
emotion,
bullying,
yeah.
just a comment in a conversation. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it made me Conversations Under the Hood has, how do I say this? Heightened my awareness of bullying. It just made me realize that I'm a bully and I need to fix it.
Okay.
Hey, we being real here.
Right.
That's
You know,
Okay. All right.
I have bullying tendencies, and I didn't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know what bullying is,
Right.
you don't think you're a bully.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stop looking at me.
That's a really good point. Okay, Doc.
Oh wow. Yeah, for me it was just the opportunity to really talk, you know, very casually and, you know, very genuinely about all these subjects, you know, including bullying. Bullying seems to have resonated, you know, and also to share with anybody out there who may be feeling some kind of way and really don't know, instead of, you know, helping others not to gaslight themselves or allow others to gaslight them, you know, to know that their feelings, you know, whatever their experience is valid, and they don't need an external variable to validate that for them,
Right.
you know. So just this opportunity to talk, really. And I've learned a lot from all these, you know, views about whether it's, you know, family and business, you know, whether it's relationships. We haven't gotten to that topic yet, but I know we touched on that a little bit.
What happened?
What?
What happened to malfunction?
Technical difficulties. Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, I'll say for me, I think that, you know, this Conversations Under the Hood, it's kind of like a dream come true, right, in a way, because I remember some years ago saying that I wanted to do like a reality TV show or something like that. And this isn't really a reality TV show, even though it's, you know, it is video.
Not yet.
And it is audio.
Not yet.
Stay
But-
tuned.
But to be able to have, I would say, you know, quality conversations that are meaningful, that are
Not
genuine,
scripted.
that are really focused around helping, you know, people with issues that we know many people deal with, you know, whether it's bullying, whether it's business, and, you know, relationships on the job or off the job. You know, I think having a place where you can come and just listen to some casual conversation, to share some casual comments, you know, or feedback. I think that's what I envisioned for Conversations Under the Hood. I think we talked about it briefly. It was never about, you know, being some major, you know, hub for, you know, people, you know, some million viewers or something like, and maybe we will achieve that, but, you know, starting out, it didn't really have anything to do with what it could be in that relationship. It was more about what it could be on a positive note. Like, man, could you imagine if I just said something, or if you said something, or if you said something, or if you said something that was the right thing at the right time for somebody, and it was life changing. You know, whether it was for them to not take a step that they were going to take a step, or to view a situation in a different lens that help them avoid, a catastrophe. Those kind of things. Like, that's what I'm shooting for, man, because everybody talking about money and how to make money and, all that type of stuff. And there's space for that. But what I've been looking for is what I think we're offering, like you said, genuine conversation, meaningful topics, and just regular old, man,
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of resources out there. You just look for it.
Yeah.
You gotta find it.
Yeah.
And share it.
Yeah.
You find it, you share it, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of resources out there. There's not. I mean, you just gotta look for it and find it. And when you find it, then share it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Well,
for us, just to spend
get
this
that music.
hour together,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, talking, that's fun. It's away from work, away from, everything is take a moment to breathe.
But it's really good though, because I really truly have gained something from this, man. You know what I mean? Like when I really look back at these 8 episodes, there's really been things that I walked away like, dang, man, I can see that a little bit. Just like you talking about, seeing aspects of yourself that you didn't see before. So if that's the case for me, I hope that's the case for y'all. And moreover, I hope it's the case for you all, our listeners. And we just want to thank you. We are at that hour today, y'all. Is the closest we've ever been to finishing on time. So I just want to thank everybody who joined us this evening, took some time to listen to us for another great conversations under the hood. We look forward to next week, and hopefully you can share this video. And if you have any comments or feedback, please don't hesitate to leave it below this video. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Conversations with the hood. Out.
Only get one life. Run, keep running. Yeah, nothing to but fight. Please don't forget, though. My homies gotta live. I just follow trail that come down my house. That's the jungle, man. Rocking in my awkward and play, yeah, none of that brand. I've been in the game of corner style. I did up in the stand, so I understand that how